I don't feel like he had confidence.
Okay.
And that's what happened pretty much, is that I don't think he has enough confidence at all.
It should be live. Okay. Talk.
We live. We out.
Oh, we live?
Yeah, we live.
Right.
This is live Facebook, so we still can't say the things on Facebook we can't say on television. But for folks that don't know, in case you've just been off the grid today, which I can't believe you have, Dan Mullen leaving Mississippi State to become Florida's new head coach. Everything's gone full circle, to say the least. Number one, he reunites with former athletic director Scott Strickland, and I should say, and Strickland may not be welcome in the SIP anytime soon for folks in maroon. That's point number one. Point number two, Mullen, as we all know, had great success as offensive coordinator with the Gators, developing a guy named Tim Tebow, who's pretty good at football, and they won a couple games of importance. I think two of them. I think they won 2 natties. But anyway, that's point number two. Point number three, well, all the success, and now everything full circle. Oh, by the way, Florida comes to Mississippi State next season. Should be an interesting day in Starkville. September 29th. For those not in the know, and I'm sure everybody in creation that's wearing maroon has circled that date down. I'm joined alongside by Waverly McCarthy, our digital person extraordinaire, who has helped us so much tremendously with coverage of this story, along with our Egg Bowl coverage. If you missed all that, you can check that out on the free MS Sports Now app. Gratuitous plug. I'm also joined alongside by Nick Ducote, our hybrid. We'll call him the hybrid. He does news and sports for us. And, of course, Patrick Ellis. He had to join in.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be salty. We're going to be salty?
It was a rough day. It's been a rough week for State fans. Let's just say that.
I will say that.
And then CJ LeMaster.
CJ LeMaster.
Hey.
A.K.A. LeMaster Esquire has graced us with his presence. So,
Hi.
Folks, this is a chance for you to vent. Say whatever you want. Hey, you can ask us about, who do you think the coach is going to be? And speaking of which, if you go on our website, msnewsnow.com, and on the MS Sports Now app, John Cohen released a statement. Special teams coordinator and running backs coach Greg Knox will serve as the Bulldogs interim head coach for the bowl game, and I'm sure we're going to hear from him as in the coming days, I should say. But if you want to vent, you can. Patrick, we're going to start with you.
Oh,
because you got some stuff to say.
I got some hot takes.
Hot takes, folks. Let's go.
It was just. I can't be upset. I was there the last game of the Kroom era. I was there at the Egg Bowl 2008, negative total yardage, and then next day Kroom's gone. Dan Mullen comes in. I've been at State since, been with the State, whole situation since Dan Mullen has come into the fold. I've seen State go from nothing to something. And I don't care who you are. You have to admit that that's something that happened. We saw Mississippi State actually make national news, making the first college football playoff number one for 5 weeks straight.
Right.
I mean, that's something that no Mississippi State football coach has ever been able to do. Now, granted, college football playoffs has only been around for 4 years.
Yeah.
So, but still, we were the first ones to be number one. That says something. But it's tough, and I think for us it's tough because of the fact that it's so bad. Yeah. It's so hard for us to see us try to transition to something else.
It's tough from a loyalty standpoint.
Yes.
A lot of people, college football is a loyalty thing, and they don't realize, you don't think about it being an actual business. This is this man's career, and this is a huge step for him. He has taken Mississippi State to, just great heights.
National prominence.
Yeah, and he has completely changed the culture of that football program. And now it's time for him to take that next step in his career. And
it's a huge step. You go to Florida now. I'm going to say this. I said this in my head this morning kind of driving to the station. You win 8 games at Mississippi State, you get a pat on the back. You win 8 games at Florida, you get a kick in the you-know-what.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the expectations are ramped up even more so at Florida. And let's just be frank. Full disclosure, I'm a Tennessee fan, so me and coaching situations today have not been the greatest of moves for me. Let's say the SEC East, with the exception of Georgia and upstart South Carolina, is incredibly down. So if you can't win the SEC East at Florida with all the resources that Dan Mullen's going to have, and now he's got to fight recruiting-wise, because when he was at Mississippi State, he essentially had to fight with the SEC and, of course, Ole Miss and the in-state recruiting battles. You go to Florida now, you've got to fight Florida State, Miami, and everybody in creation coming to Florida because they have some of the best recruiting talent in the country.
Central Florida, South Florida, all those guys.
They're all pretty good. And one aforementioned Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic.
Okay, we've got a lot of comments.
We've got folks commenting, so we're just going to read them.
Okay, so we got a couple Lane Kiffin comments.
Hey, Lane Kiffin.
We talked about that too.
If FlightAware is your friend, by the way, there was a FlightAware post today saying there was a flight from Oxford to Boca Raton, Florida. That's neither here nor there.
I mean, I'd love to see Lane Kiffin.
Well, I mean, I feel like we need to bring up the Matt Luke situation too, just to make it even. But
we will later. Yeah. Mullins the more ridiculous story of the day.
Hatton commented. Where did it go? He says Blake Anderson at Arkansas State.
To be fair, I have covered enough coaching searches in my life. My last stop before I came here to WLBT, I was at KIT. I covered Arkansas State, where we essentially had 4 coaching changes in 5 years. Let's say coaching searches in me is almost a 4-letter word at this point. Mm-hmm. Blake Anderson would be an interesting thought. He's had great success there with the Red Wolves. My opinion, Mississippi State needs an offensive coach because there's enough pieces there next season with a healthy Nick Fitzgerald, which now I'm going to sound like NBA. With pieces, and if Nick Fitzgerald stays healthy, which I believe he will.
Should be.
He will be.
He'll be back for spring practice.
He'll be back for spring practice. Mississippi State has enough pieces on offense to be a dark horse contender in the SEC West. Yes, folks, I said it. Mississippi State now needs the right offensive coach to make it all happen.
Well, going off of what you're saying right now, I feel like the coach that should be, let me reassure everybody in the room right now, is they really need to look at Central Florida's head coach. Frost was amazing at Oregon for years as an offensive mind. He groomed Mariota. If he comes to Mississippi State and does pretty much what he did in Central Florida, I mean, y'all are back in the top 10. We're back in the top 10, frankly, with a healthy Nick Fitzgerald.
Well, there's another big but about Scott Frost, and that color's big red. Because he was a Nebraska quarterback.
Yes, he was.
So if Nebraska doesn't call and talk to him, they're just as bad as Tennessee.
Yes. Yes, they are.
CJ Lemaster's son, you've been sitting here like pondering over a bunch of stuff. So, A.K. Lemaster Esquire, he had a cameo appearance on the Egg Bowl. ESPN cameras caught him in his fantastic hat and everything. He looked like he was in GQ and Esquire. What do you guys say?
Les Miles, if you're watching. Help.
We have great grass at
Rod
Skyfield.
says Les Miles too.
Yeah, his luck would be welcome.
I know you got.
I'm sorry, guys, but I'm going to squash that right now. It's not going to happen. Do not get Les Miles in this state. I'm sorry. This is a man who pretty much lost recruiting battles year in, year out to Alabama, Mississippi State. He could have got Dak Prescott, but he didn't like him for some reason. And then he was getting beaten year in and year out by Bama, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and sometimes Ole Miss here.
We literally had a conversation about this
last night.
we have the most advanced clock management skills in the SEC. So bring Les Miles in. Let him try.
I feel like, frankly, I'm going to go what you were saying earlier. Sumlin would be a great pickup because his recruiting is
I'd take
ridiculous.
Kevin Sumlin right now for my beloved Volunteers.
We will take him.
The recruiting that he does is ridiculous. Now, I feel like the AD needs to be frank with him. Like, if you come here, you gotta win. Your recruiting is obviously there, but you gotta win. You know, it can't be 8 games, it can't be 7 games because heck, that didn't work at A&M, so it's not gonna work in Mississippi. Like, you gotta take the fold from who your predecessor was and continue that success.
We are not at the time where we were. We're coming in 3-9.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not at that point anymore.
No.
And you've got to come in and actually win games and be good for the program. Now, granted, I think Kevin Sumlin's a great coach.
Yeah.
And I think that he would fit well at State. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have to change colors. You just come on.
No, exactly. Or Adidas. That's it. He's still rocking Adidas no matter what, so he's fine. He's good to go.
And he just got a $10 million payday, so he can get a couple houses over the Cotton District and a couple houses down at the Ritz.
Watch out, Dan Camp.
30 days, I think I saw.
Yes,
30 days.
He still gets a nice buyout, which, for folks that don't know, for the 2 people who've forgotten all that's going on in the SEC just in the last couple of days, I wouldn't even say weeks, let's just say we might have turnover what seems like half the Southeastern Conference, which I thought would never, ever happen.
Arkansas.
We've got Arkansas with Brett Bielema, who was fired literally minutes after the Missouri loss on Friday.
Hold on the field.
Texas A&M today, Kevin Sumlin was let go at the Aggies, and he was actually 20-plus games over 500, but when you're Texas A&M and you spend about $500 million,
no, I didn't see a statement.
Basically,
they need more wins.
They said, we expect to win, and we expect to compete for SEC championship, and we expect to compete for national championships, and That has not happened.
So does everybody else.
Yeah.
So does Vanderbilt.
It's hard, but again, it's hard in the SEC West.
You put $500 million into your stadium, that means you need to win.
We've got a major hot take right here. Dan
Mullins is not a good coach.
at
Whoa, hold up.
All right.
Dan, I'm going to piggyback off of something Patrick said.
Hold
Dan
back.
Mullen achieved something that I only thought could be achievable if you played the NCAA football video games. He made Mississippi State #1 in the nation. And I'm kind of an older SEC guy, because some of us are, because we've been around, seen and watched so much SEC accounts. I remember Mississippi State with the Egg Bowl being the JP game, and both teams had losing records. So the fact he pulled this off, JP forever. The fact that Mullen did this with Mississippi State, I said this in my 5 o'clock sportscast. Sometime in the future, Dan Mullen deserves a statue in Stark for what he pulled off.
I said that a couple of weeks ago. I said that after the Alabama game. I said, you know what? Even though we lost, it was a good loss. Now, granted, now I look at hold on. Now, then we look at the Iron Bowl yesterday, and like, never mind.
Can we make sure that there's a visor on the statue? Can we get
Yes, the visor has to come.
Or we could also do a combo statue with Dak Prescott and
There you
Dan
go.
Mullen. Do a combo statue.
But it's, when you look at it, we are at national prominence. I remember saying I was going to go to Mississippi State, and people were like, where's Mississippi State? Like, I remember my friends in college, I was the only person that went to a SEC school that was not Alabama or Auburn, because originally I'm from Alabama. And everybody's like, what is Mississippi State? And I remember that time. And now, when you say Mississippi State, people are actually like, oh, I know Starkville.
Cowbells.
Cowbells.
Yeah, cowbells. That's the other thing, too.
Don't stop believing.
Yeah, don't stop believing.
Maybe we'll keep playing that song. Now, one of the things a lot of you guys are commenting on is, potential coaches. One of the people on my list, someone's already mentioned.
Yeah.
Kenneth Howard did. Mike Norvell, who's been killing it up in Memphis.
See, I want him at Ole Miss.
I mean,
we'll circle back to this.
He's got options.
Yeah.
He's going to have just about all them SEC folks, except for Tennessee, because they did Tennessee things today. He's going to have just about the rest of the SEC after him because of what he's done, and he's pretty good with offense. He's pretty good.
He's okay.
And again, for State, we do need somebody who's offensively there. We do.
Well, what about, they brought in both their defensive coordinator.
I'll be stunned if Todd Grantham stays.
Yeah,
I'll be stunned.
Yeah.
He's going to go to Florida. I think that's kind of maybe one of those package things, but that could be, if you wanted a defensive candidate, Grantham would be a pretty good one, but he hasn't been a head coach before.
Yeah. But what about Troy's head coach?
Neil Brown. Beat up LSU.
Just saying. Come from
Beat
Louisiana.
LSU on homecoming.
That guy, homecoming night, ruined a lot of people's evenings. I'm sorry. It just was. He came in there and stopped it from the beginning of the game from the get-go. LSU could do nothing on offense. And granted, they have Darius Geis and, people can't name anybody else, but he stopped them in their tracks, pun intended. So, yeah.
And Neil Brown has SEC experience. He's been an offensive coordinator for several Southeastern Conference teams, so he's going to have his name in the conversation. By the way, they're going to play Arkansas State for the Sun Belt title, I think, next Saturday. So we could have two coaches playing against each other who could be gone.
So a lot of people are saying Mike Leach as well, which...
Mike Leach plus Starkville would be my dream as a sports director because I could get sound bites for days.
Gosh, did y'all see his soundbite on marriage? Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
I didn't agree with some of that. But Mike Leach is fantastic.
I have one of my friends who works at FIU. He's telling me, I'm here for Manny Diaz. I'm not here for Manny Diaz.
I'm
and
sorry.
I know you said it earlier, too.
I have to poke the bear because Manny Diaz is great on the defense coordinator.
No.
Listen.
I'm sorry.
Manny Diaz ain't leaving Miami.
He's not.
And he's great.
And then on top of that, you can't come into Starkville 3 times.
And you can't bring the turnover chain, because the turnover chain ain't going to work here. Mississippi State already got the chain without the U on.
The first time we were upset that Manny Diaz left. The second time we were like, okay, bye.
But he's by far not the most hated man who is Grace Starkville now. Scott Strickland.
He's not allowed back in the state of Mississippi.
I mean, I've seen his Wikipedia page change from his current position being backstabber to something that I really can't say on this Facebook Live. So
or on television.
Or on television. So yeah,
we like our jobs, so don't say that.
People not very happy with him because obviously he was instrumental. And I was talking to Chris about this before everything was official and we saw the official word.
Rumors / sources, but now they're all real.
When Scott Strickland was the AD at State, he did a similar Hail Mary to keep Mullen longer whenever Mullen was potentially going to go to Tennessee. And so you didn't really see whatever was offered, and we're not privy to those kinds of conversations, but whatever it was, whatever was offered.
Yeah, we did find out today.
Yeah, Cohen didn't offer enough, apparently, or the deal was just too sweet. Do we even have salary at this point?
We're just going to say it's a bunch of money right now.
A lot of money.
We're saying a bunch of money. And speaking of Scott Strickland, they released a statement within this past hour, the last hour, because now it's a 6 o'clock hour. Essentially, everything got official the 5 o'clock hour, and as we all know, all the reports happened all day. Two interesting things from Scott Strickland's statement.
Hot take, right?
Which Mississippi State fans ain't gonna like what I'm about to say. Mm-hmm. Quote, on a personal level, this was a challenging situation because I'm proud of the job Dan did at MSU, my alma mater. However, as the Gators athletic director, my sole responsibility is to make decisions that are best for the University of Florida, and that is why Dan Mullen is our new head football coach.
I think that's when you think you got to think of it as a business.
It is business.
It's business.
College football is a business. Now, let's read some more comments from the fine folks that have joined us. Buddy Stevens, I don't think is going to come. Last chance here.
How fun would that be?
That would be fantastic, but...
Okay.
Sorry, no.
So,
Who is Dan taking with him? I will be surprised if Todd Grantham doesn't go to Florida with him. I'll be stunned.
That's tough.
That'll be a double whammy and then some.
Chad Morris, which
Chad
Ole Miss
Morris
fans are having a field day with Chad Morris.
For folks that don't know, he's at SMU. Pretty big offensive guy. He was an offensive coordinator at Clemson for a long, long time before he got his first head coaching gig.
But he's not done well at SMU.
No,
he's done.
SMU's a tough gig. I'm sorry.
I mean, it is a tough
But
gig,
the SEC West is, in general, is a tough gig.
The American is
whoever comes in is going to have to prove themselves very quickly.
Right. The American is a weird conference. One
weird,
coach having success in the American this year, Jeff Collins, who used to be at Mississippi State and Florida.
Yes.
I don't know if they're going to ask him, though. I don't know if they're going to ask him, though. I'm trying to do the full circle with my fingers. I don't know. Anyway, let's see what we got. When Mullen comes back to Starkville, September 29th.
An interesting question. Yeah, who's gonna come away with a win in that game?
I'm just saying I'm buying my ticket today.
Yeah.
You're asking who's going to win Florida and Mississippi State next year? I mean, you have to look at Philippe Franks.
State wins
he's
next
good,
year.
but I think Frank State's going to win, though, yeah.
State, but Mullen can essentially game plan against
him. Oh, yeah, of course.
That's who's going to be
He can groom Franks, too, and Franks, I mean, he was a highly recruited quarterback, you know?
State still has more talent to me, in my opinion, if you mention
Let me ask this question. This is something that we haven't brought up. Is the recruits.
Mark Hudspeth's an interesting name, but the problem is the Raging Cajuns have nosedived this year. They went from being a really good, consistent Sun Belt team, then the NCAA stuff hit them. Yep. They won like one game this year. The Raging Cajuns are terrible this year. But
about the recruits, all these guys that have committed to Mississippi
State. Yes, we like our day jobs very much, but we get to vent on Facebook Live on the side.
And it's just kind of like, where do they go? Like, do they leave with Dan Mullen? Yeah. They are sold on the school and the coach.
Of course.
So with Dan leaving, how many of these recruits go with him?
It's part of the business.
I think a lot of that would also depend on the other coaches that he takes.
Who's going with him?
And it's going to depend. And here's another factor folks got to buy in now. This is the first year of the new early signing period. Mm-hmm. So the mid-December date that we usually associate with junior college players getting to sign to go to 4-year schools, that's now the first opportunity for all these players to sign, high school players. Yeah. So that's going to be fascinating to see how this is going to affect Mississippi State, not just Mississippi State, but just about all these college coaches, all these colleges, I should say, with openings. So
it's just a weird situation to have so many openings in the SEC, especially right now.
This hasn't happened in like 7 years.
It's tough.
Because at one time it was, again, A&M was open, Vols, his alma mater, were open, LSU wasn't, but now it is. And then, again, Florida had Urban Meyer leave, so it was like that one weird position there. But now it's anybody's ball game right now, frankly. Anybody really can go anywhere.
Anybody can go anywhere. That's the story of college football.
Yep.
Y'all got any final thoughts before we go try to do more work?
I need to reassure Mississippi State and Ole Miss fans.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about...
Because Waverly, our glorious Waverly right here, is a rebel, and it's going to be okay. There are a lot of good coaches out there. And again, I know I keep shooting out Frost. I want to see it happen because I think him as a coordinator with offenses is great. Him coming to state would be great. And if not, just a name. Again, I brought it up to her. But Charlie Strong would also be a good pickup for
Charlie
anybody here. I'm sorry. Even though he didn't do that well at Texas.
That's
he
what
still
I
comes to Mississippi.
But does he leave South Florida after
Exactly.
he go right back into the Power 5?
It's a business at the end of the day.
Howdy toddy, Brian.
I drink some Lane Kiffin Kool-Aid.
No.
Poisonous
God.
Kool-Aid, but
Gosh, okay,
That's
wait,
AKA rat
wait.
poison.
But Lane Kiffin in Oxford, is that not the most fun thing you could ever think of?
until the couches start burning.
The square would never be the same if Lane Kiffin was taught.
Okay, but I do think that Mississippi State has an incredible athletic director and president that are so supportive of the athletic department that they're gonna make the right decision,
Yeah.
and they're gonna.
Yeah.
Well,
I do have trust in that.
Here's the counterpoint from an MSU alum. We're going to find out because we already know that Mark Keenum's been a wonderful president, especially considering some of the presidents that came before him when I was going to school there. But I'll tell you though, this is the first real big test for John Cohen. And you know, when he was announced as the athletics director from being baseball coach,
It was kind
some of us were kind of like,
huh?
what? And so now a lot is resting. I would not want to be in his shoes right now.
Canizero?
Canizero.
Canizero's a hit.
Yeah.
true. That's
So,
true.
yeah, so far,
He hired a
that's
soccer
good.
coach that's been really good, had their best result in soccer in 20 years. How do I know that? I just keep random.
We know
Random
football
state.
makes the
He
world
just does
go
these
round.
things. It's his
Yeah.
passion.
It's the SEC, Paul. Football makes everything go round.
Jackson State's coach.
Hey, he beat all
We're
corn.
not.
He beat all corn. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all.
That's all they
matters.
care about.
They beat all corn, so that's all matters.
Oh, wait. Your story about Tony Hughes and
Can we say this? We might as well say this. All right, we got done with one of their Jackson State press conferences. This is literally 2 months ago. About a month and a half ago, the first time around we heard about the Florida opening coming around. And we're just like, shooting the breeze with Tony Hughes. Obviously, for folks, he one of Dan Mullen's longtime assistants before he came to Jackson State. He called his shot and essentially said, if Florida offers Mullen the job, he's going to take it. He said that 2 months ago. So tip of the hat, Tony Hughes. And tip of the hat to beating Alcorn in the Soul Bowl. That was impressive.
Well, did y'all see Dak's comment?
yeah.
Yes.
Money talks.
Money talks.
How many times?
Money talks.
Well, it does because
In the world.
wasn't the prevailing rumor we kept seeing over and over again is like Megan hates it in Gainesville.
I mean, for a couple
Okay.
$1 million, I could enjoy Gainesville.
Yeah,
You know,
But now,
I
Everything's
saw a thing that State was going to go up to $6 million on his contract.
That's what they had to do. They had to up the ante.
But
yeah.
I feel like Florida was like, we got a little extra cash.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Florida's probably here's $8 million.
I
now-
think he has the opportunity at Florida to win the East and go to.
I think that he can.
and he's got literally 2 to 3 years because if he don't, he gets run out on a ring.
I think
like
that-
Jim
Yeah.
McElwain did.
I think that he has proven himself in the West. You go to the East as an 8-4 coach. If you got good recruits coming in to Florida, he can go 10-2 over in the East.
He better.
Yeah.
Or he's gone.
I think he's got a good shot of winning the East
Oh, I
in the
absolutely
next
agree with that.
in the next couple of years.
I absolutely agree with that.
Well, I mean, by next year. I mean, he could do it
Yeah,
next year.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, like, you have to look at, again, who he's also inheriting from
And whoever
McElwain.
he takes over there.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, Mullen's going to be fine. I'm sorry.
And especially, I
He's
think
good.
if he takes Todd Grantham with him, it's a done deal.
It is. Yeah.
It's a done deal. The East will go to Florida next year.
So, folks, we've had enough venting and such. Thank you guys for joining on and commenting positive and negative and otherwise. That's life. We're all going to get back to work. We're going to have much more on this coming up in tonight's newscast. More development, obviously, in the coming days as Mississippi State searches for a new head coach. In case you missed the top of our Facebook Live, Greg Knox, the running backs coach and special teams coordinator, will be the interim head coach for the Bulldogs moving forward. And we'll find out December 3rd where MSU goes bowling, hopefully somewhere warm.
Cedric, I think I'm saying that right. He said he pulled a Tommy Tuberville.
I don't know if a pine box was involved, though.
I heard about somebody saying this is what the pine box comment feels like.
I think the pine box comment was worse. I mean,
Pine
He
box
didn't
was
say
worse.
pine
he
box,
didn't say
but
pine box, but he also
he did double
he
down.
never said he was never super firm in his answer.
There were a couple-
everything he said. I was like,
At least he was
didn't say it that
vague.
way.
I'll give him credit. At least he went vague, and instead of just putting his foot in his mouth and paying for it later. So at least he did
Yeah.
his vague.
Yeah.
There was the one comment that he says like y'all will have a good football team going forward.
Well, his,
That was that was after Alabama.
That was after the
his
Alabama game.
very first comment on it when the rumors started. It was I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was very much not a no. It was not a. It was not a no. I'm
So
not
these
leaving.
talks have been going on for.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also saw
wow.
a picture
Oh,
of
wow.
Dan Mullen at the day after
Also-
the Egg Bowl at the Walmart in Starkville wearing a blue jacket. I mean, I'm just saying.
Cousin Eddie flying south for the winter, y'all.
She's been waiting to say that.
Yes, he has. One other comment. I noticed this. SM Triple T Southern Miss also 8-4, just like Mississippi State.
Yep.
Could be a dream
Hey.
bowl game. I don't know if that could happen. I've got to remember all the tie-ins, but I can't remember if there's an SEC versus Conference USA.
That'd be nice.
That'd be fantastic. But that's all we got. We've vented enough on Facebook Live and talked too much. So we're gonna get back to working and putting shows together. So I'll see you guys. We'll see all you guys tonight on our newscast on WLBT and Fox 40. And if you stay really late after Sunday Night Football. Thanks. Bye.